We got some big numbers and updates when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 because a lot of the narrative that's been spun online is starting to crumble, just like I said it would when the numbers came out. A game like Pokemon Pocopia is looking to change the complete trajectory of what is happening here. So we've got updates on that in addition to the huge announcement of Splatoon Raiders. I want to talk about the significance of this, what's going on with this game, what you can expect, new details, and I would say things to look forward to when it comes to Nintendo's second half of the year, because I think it's just getting started. But before we continue on, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2. All you have to do to enter is hit that subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed and drop a comment below. We are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 once we hit 150,000 subscribers, and it will be random. So the more that you actually comment and interact, the better chance that you have to win. Hit that like button, click that notification bell, and let's go ahead and jump right back into it. Let's start off with Nintendo Switch 2 in the US. We have an MPD, or more like Circana update, and while the PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch 2, they're both selling really well. I'm not here to kind of do like the whole console war competition. What I want to do here is go over the actual numbers and discuss what I've been talking about from the beginning, discussing how the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be a system based off of specific games that do come out. You're going to see peaks, you're going to see sometimes it's a bit lower, but what we're seeing right now is that Pokemon Pocopia was a massive system seller, especially here in the US, and I'm banking even better when it comes to worldwide, because Circana data, Matt Piscatella, that has came out now at this point, and I have some bullet points that I want to go over here. So the Nintendo Switch 2 sold around 570,000 units plus for the US in March. The estimates do have that at more than January and February combined plus then some. That boosted the Nintendo Switch 2 to the best selling system year to date here in the US. Remember, in the US for January and for February, Switch 2 was the second best selling system. So March and Pokemon Pocopia was really big for the system. Love to see that type of momentum. The Switch 2 sales have now topped 5.4 million units, and it's tracking 12% higher than the Nintendo Switch 1 was. Launch aligned for 10 months, and that's significant because that does include that first holiday season for the Switch 1, because Nintendo was trying to get more systems out. They had some shortages, and they really were able to get a lot more out for the holiday, and it did really well then. Also, the Switch 2 is the second fastest selling system of all time here in the US. If you look at it comparatively, lifetime to date, first 10 months, only the GBA at 5.88 million units has sold faster, but that was also like half the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 adjusted for inflation. It was pretty cheap when it launched, but Switch 2 is actually significantly above PlayStation 5, Nintendo 3DS, the Nintendo Wii, which is also significant. It's actually a million units plus over the Wii, PlayStation 4, PSP, PS2, Xbox One. So as long as Nintendo can keep the momentum going and keep a steady supply of sales, I think that they have a very good chance to continue to sell incredibly well, because the Switch 2 still hasn't gotten some of its biggest system sellers that helped push the Nintendo Switch 1 to being one of the best selling systems of all time. We still need that next new Smash Brothers, that next big 3D Mario, that next big Legend of Zelda game, that next big Animal Crossing game. So there's still a number of titles to come out, and even the next big Pokemon game, Pokemon Winds and Waves, that doesn't come out till next years. So there's going to be more opportunities for the Nintendo Switch 2 to gain on the GBA and to do really well in its own right. So definitely love to see that. Now let's talk a little bit more about some of the grift kind of being dead with this, because games like Pokemon Pocopia, and if you look at some of the other games for the top 10, for example, you can see them right here. Pokemon Pocopia, obviously for March, #1 with the Nintendo charts itself. It was #5 for the best-selling overall charts, but Pokemon Pocopia #1 for the Nintendo only charts. And the interesting thing is that with Nintendo, they don't give their digital sales numbers to the Circana. So seeing a game like Pokemon Pocopia be #5 on the overall chart, and it doesn't include the fact that Pokemon Pocopia was the top-selling game since it launched in all of March. It's been the top-selling game on the eShop with pretty big sales. shows that Pocopia is doing really, really well. And then Pokemon Legends EA was number 2. There were people that were trying to say that the game was not selling well. No, obviously Pokemon Legends EA is selling very well. Mario Kart World is also selling well, despite that being the $80, because those bundles, there's some left here in the US, but I don't really see them too often. So people are going out there and buying it. The Mario Galaxy movie is helping boost Mario, because we've got Mario Kart World, Super Mario Galaxy plus Super Mario Galaxy 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree in at number 8, and then Super Mario Bros. Wonder in at number 9, and then Mario Tennis Fever in at number 10. So there's quite a number of Mario games. And of course you have the evergreens. Donkey Kong Bonanza still there at number 6. Resident Evil Generations Pack, very good deal, so people are taking advantage of that. And then Monster Hunter Stories 3 comes in at number 7. I do think that game could have been higher if they did a better job with the Switch 2 version of the game, but it is what it is on that. We'll see how it does in the long run. So this really just kind of is the beginning of the end, which I've stated before in the past of like the grift. We see people trying to act like the Nintendo Switch 2 online and on websites isn't selling well because of some of the US data. And I'm just like, you gotta wait for the full year, one, first and foremost. And second, you also have to wait for some of the big system sellers to come out in some of the big games. So that's what we've seen right now with Pokemon Pocopia. It's really helped to boost the system a lot more than maybe any of us would have thought. I knew that it had a chance or opportunity, but it was definitely a good result with Pokemon. And I do think that now at this point, you look at some of the price increases that we've seen for the PlayStation, and we obviously saw multiple price increases for the Xbox Series last year. You look at that, Nintendo still has not increased the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 system yet. And that's what I was saying. I hope that they keep it there, because if they keep it at this price that they have it at $450, it becomes by far the cheapest option when it comes to the current systems that are out there. And what you get is that you have a good library of games, from past titles with the Nintendo Switch 1 that people can play backwards compatible to big titles with the Nintendo Switch 2 as exclusives coming up. Yoshi's coming up here in a bit as well. You've also got Splatoon Raiders, which we're going to talk about. And then, of course, there's going to be Fire Emblem, the Dust Bloods. There's going to be the rumored games potentially here. Talk about Star Fox, in addition to The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Pokemon Winds and Waves next year. So if they can keep that price point, I think it becomes incredibly attractive, because there were a lot of people rushing out to go buy PlayStation 5s in March here in the US because of the price hike, and Pokemon Pocopia was still able to be the #1 system on there. But pretty good when it comes to what's going on there. I like what I'm seeing from this, and I hope that it continues on here as Nintendo kind of gets into the groove with new games and the marketing message for 2026 for the Nintendo Switch 2. So what do you guys think when it comes to everything that we talked about here with Pokemon Pocopia and the Nintendo Switch 2? A lot of good stuff happening here. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, let's get into the huge Nintendo Today announcement that everyone was talking about recently, and that is Splatoon Raiders. We got brand new information dropped out of nowhere. This game has been essentially a Nintendo Today exclusive because it was revealed on the Nintendo Today app, and then they've also got new information on the Nintendo Today app. So that's caused a lot of other discussion about what Nintendo's going to be doing with Nintendo Directs and their marketing focus and anything. And I want to talk about that once we get past some of this information, because I think this is a super exciting release, not only because it was just kind of dropped with the release date and the price that we're going to discuss, but also because it marks kind of like a new style that Nintendo's going to be doing that I think is really going to work out. And that is the variable pricing, along with having announcements all throughout the year. So Splatoon Raiders is officially launching on July 23rd. So that is locked in, ready to go worldwide. We got a new trailer that you guys are watching as well. This is a single player focused Splatoon game, but there's multiplayer in there, which we'll get to in just a bit. Now, there is going to be some nice character customization. There's loot collection, salvaging, and creating new types of weapons in this game, in addition to power-ups and abilities that you can collect on a pretty big map, it seems like, based off of the trailer here, which is going to be larger areas than you would see in something like Salmon Run or even some of the single player content in Splatoon games. Now, the best part that people are talking about here, because of some of the recent things that's happened, is the price range. $49.99 digital and $59.99 physical. So this game has even went below what we saw with Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, where people were talking about that being 60 digital and 70 physical. Well, this game is even lower. This is down to GameCube prices digitally. This is pre the Nintendo Wii U, because GameCube games were $50 for those titles. Obviously, there was no digital back then, but GameCube games were $50. So this game is offering that. So if you want to buy digital, you can buy digital and get it for $50. But I want that physical copy. It's a real physical copy, not a GameCube card. That's $60 for that. There's also some amiibo that are coming out as well too, if you want to pick those up. But for me, having it $60 for a physical copy reminds me of the good old days. Reminds me of the good old days of the Nintendo Wii U. So I will take that, and I think a lot of people are going to be happy with that price. I think that definitely bumps up the sales of this game quite a bit, because it almost goes to an impulse buy for some people at that $50 digital. The game is also 20 gigabytes in file size. That's bigger than I think all of the previous Splatoon games. So I do think that this game does have dense content in there. And like I talked about, it is a single player focused game, but it does support up to 3 other players via online or local. So if you want to play in the main campaign with other people, you can. Now, Nintendo did add some extra information with that. They stated that no matter how many other people are playing, don't worry about the difficulty. It will scale. So if you have one person playing, the difficulty is going to be based off the salmonid level that you can see on the map. But if you have 2 people playing, that's going to intensify it just a bit. They're going to make things a bit harder. If 3 people are playing or 4 people are playing, it's just going to adjust it dynamically. Nintendo talked about that on Twitter recently. So they said, don't worry, it all evens out. So definitely good to hear with that. So if you want to get into maybe some tougher skirmishes, you can invite your friends over, local or wireless, and check out the gameplay there. So I do like the fact that they actually included that, despite it being a single player focused game. So a lot of people are talking about this and saying, well, wait a minute, this was announced on a random Tuesday on the app. What about Nintendo Directs? That's been like the big thing that I've been hearing so far. Are they dead now because of this? And I would say, no. I think that Nintendo has an experiment here that they're doing with Splatoon Raiders. It's now become a pattern to where, okay, this game is going to be based off of Nintendo Today. Everything that we talk about this game, for the most part, is going to be Nintendo Today. We're not really going to discuss it in directs. It's going to be something to where we want to push our app. So download the app if you want to get information randomly about games out of nowhere. So I think that's really what they're trying to do here. And they're probably going to get a lot more people to download the app today because of this news when it comes to it. So I expect more people to go download that app now at this point, but I still think that we're going to get a big Nintendo Direct in June or so, and I feel that Splatoon Raiders could have more information there, although it'll be getting close to the release. I definitely think that'll probably be at that Nintendo Direct, where they'll show like a new trailer and a bit more information, some new weapons or things like that, maybe some replay value stuff. But for me, at least, I think that it looks great. There was some conversation about the game graphically not looking as good as it could, and I definitely understand where some people are coming from with that, but I think that at the price point of $50 to $60, so Wii U / GameCube level prices for a full featured Splatoon single player adventure with online, local, and co-op, it does seem like it's going to have a lot of content based off of the map, different areas to go, a lot of different weapons, construction, and replay value. I think that this is actually awesome. I don't think I'm going to be complaining too much when it comes to the game. Yes, it's kind of like they're taking the Salmon Run concept, but it's a lot bigger than that, because Salmon Run is pretty small. You have that one little area that you're in, and that's essentially it for Salmon Run, and then you have to just maneuver around that one area and that little side beachfront before like all the salmonids come in from the ocean or anything like that. And this has like multiple different locations and much larger areas in comparison, and it looks just as sharp and smooth as the Switch 2 update for Splatoon 3. So it definitely looks better than Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2. I saw some people online trying to say that it looks like a Wii U game, and I'm like, art style wise, yes, but actual graphics wise, much more in line with Splatoon 3. So for me at least, once again, it's probably going to run at 4K 60 as well, or 1440p 60 FPS. Don't think they're going to have 120 FPS, but it would be nice if there was 120, but I don't think so. So 4K 60 is probably it, or 1440p 60 upscaled. So I think it looks sharp and smooth. And I think that the price is really good. In addition to that, I think that the combat and some of the upgrades, different stuff that you can do in the game that I analyzed from the trailer look like a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to the game. I think it's going to be really good. And I think that more people are going to get into this just because of what we're seeing here with the variable pricing. It's nice, and I think that it does help out. Once again, if they can keep this up, this is good stuff. A lot of good news in a row with the Switch 2, Pokemon Pocopia. You have the sales numbers coming around here at this point, in addition to Splatoon Raiders, and the price of this game, along with what you're going to get content-wise. It looks pretty dense with the amount of stuff that you can do based off of the map. There's a lot of positive momentum heading into the middle part of the year here, where we are going to get that big next Nintendo Direct, and that's going to be interesting to see what Nintendo has for us there. But what do you guys think when it comes to everything that we talked about here, man? There was a lot of stuff from the Nintendo Switch 2 and how that's doing to Splatoon Raiders. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.